Send you more video to 24 radio. Bread to send some cost for memoir say the above one way at trending news no. And then you ray yadeba some more affin so now chimun some and so they told you yadeba some more and trending news ye so aha aye a 24 radio ye our modernghana.com Zeno Radio Sanso and a tune in www.a24radio.com YouTube A24 TV Facebook A24 Radio ko like na share na fin so far comment egu onum ye beken kan e de ama mo enen sama de ba no de di makotene ebi ene se Inusa Fusaini wa company for na the vetting committee wo mo de wo mo ahihye so ana kane no Mr. Meka na oye minister what they atodwa say ministers ayabo mudin aye vet wo mo no e wo so wo mo hwehunu say positions ana say the bread ya ma wo mo no wo mo ebe research na afi wo ma prepare no mo de akọ committee no enim
even nominated Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture or Minister for Justice. Or Justice. Can we relax the or Minister for Justice. Or Minister for Roads. Brother, you have to spend the next few days before your vetting.
San Enso and Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje one no ye penny kwantre for Wada Ghana Health Service and what they atodwa say schools are outdoor my concrete Ghana mu COVID-19 no to say mu.
Since school reopened in the middle of January, we have recorded 556 cases across the region from 139 schools. And so far there are about 2 regions that has not reported any case in their school. That is
Dr. Kwame Amponsan one no your penny kwantre for our share vaccine enter ebeba so e Ghana Health Service. What they atodwa ekwan a ebefa so vaccine no yebesi ashase de adijuma e wo mem ha.
Vaccinators for this exercise we have planned to train approximately 12,500 vaccinators and nearly 40,000 volunteers with a little over 2,000 team supervisors.
Sanso and penny form sharing women's so I will be bremu atoye has saying Africa Education Watch. Yevra openia Osheso Kofi Asare Wakasa Edi Atudwa say awofo any akyerɛkyerɛfo ɛwɔ sɛ yɛn so yɛhwɛ ɛma social distance na na afin so COVID-19 protocols ahodoɔ nkora no ebedi so sɛ ne bɛyɛ school no yɛn san tumu biem.
Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education and the guidelines by guidelines from CSS schools. What we always could be a super heavy to say that they are COVID-19 baho. And the baho so your protocols are and mass school in this. The Benin says be a test positive school be and a case be a baho one. There was more isolated students.
In some way, near for pin and you may most some for the donko sinkonya wa 24 radio so yere babe some mo se kase ayatuni din trending news Papa Smiley and akeka no mesi and stand ye be anwumrei baby bia wote en kampia no won so ubenya ensempa etwagu o mema sei no wanya ebi atie no atensem a ekoso e wo my konkron Ghana mu.
Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture or Minister for Justice. Or Justice. Can we relax the or Minister for Justice. Or Minister for Roads. Brother, you have to spend the next few days before your vetting to know as much as possible.
Afi yenen sem no emunchiremu enie. Na otwe mu no na vetting committee no ehya ase man panifo a oman konkron Ghana ye man pani na nadodan kwa Akufo-Addo yabo omudin no yede wo mo ehya ase a ibisebisa wo mo nsem efa dibra wo mo ekwa akodie no efa ho se wo mo esefata se dwuma no wo mo ebetimi aye na eno na ekame aye se mpanifo no bi wo ho no ma sem na ye bisebisa wo mo no kamia se wo mo enimdie wo dwumadie no ho no wo fom ye pa na yenka kai ho kakra yewura hawa ye maame hawa kumsen okokodru mpanifo anim ni dibra yede ema no ene nsem a esefata mpanifo ana vetting committee ministerial vetting committee no etimi bisaye no ebinie
of voters in the year 2020 on the June 20th, there was such incident. And Mr. Chairman, regrettably, it was unfortunate incident, Mr. Chairman, which I wish it never happened on that day. And I don't also pray that it ever happens again in the history of our politics in Ghana. I want to seize this opportunity to also apologize to the people who were so scared on that day. It was in defense of myself because I felt my life was in danger, the circumstance that I found myself. That day I thought I needed to have saved my life by defending my life there. Now, Mr. Chairman, I also want to plead with this committee that the issue is before the police for investigation. I wouldn't want to say much about it.
What is fish farming? And what are some of the advantages of fish farming?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try my best. Fish farming is the process of rearing of fish in the reservoirs and the fish ponds, etc. Thank you. One advantage of fish farming is it makes the farmer earn some income. It also increases fish in our community for consumption. Thank you.
In Ghana, we expect those who win science do their restitution. My take on this is that in several sectors, this does not happen. If you take the timber industry, those who harvest our timber, they are not interested in planting trees. If you take the gold and mining industry, those who did, they are not interested in doing the environmental restitution, covering the big holes, the creatures that they create. The same thing, those who dig the land and win sanction. So my proposition is that we set up entities with the requisite knowledge. In this particular case, under the local government system, or it can even be under the land and natural resources ministry. Take the requisite amount of money from these people because these are economic businesses.
Eno ensem no bia etimi si ye vetting committee no so enne anase na otwe mu titiru ya wada no ene efiada no ebi ena ye boy yewra akoto osei agric minister ayaboni de insanso ena Mr. Bentel ye mami hawa kumsin ne ena ye boy ne no ena yewra kofi Bentel de atudwa say amanfo attitude and one knowledge ewo positions side ama wo no ekamia ise wo form kakra wode semi nyina atudwa wo abre ne dai na program ba kwa ye friend news fa ekoso ewo Joy News and all this ensem no atudwa.
From the attitude of some of the persons, the appointees, that there were times they got irritated, there were times they got almost angry, there were times they were throwing answers back to the members, on the panel.
Example,
it must be clear
example,
for everyone to understand that. Examples, because it will mean mentioning names, and I don't want to go there because we'll get into the weeds.
Then we should do that.
Yes, or they sounded as if they were being harassed. As if, who are you to ask me that question? And they gave all kinds of answers which, if you consider things in terms of the philosophy of this whole thing, those people questioning them are questioning them on behalf of citizens. The whole thing is the attitude. I think that people come to this thing and they're looking at the person asking the question. They should look at the citizens behind. It's similar to being interviewed by a journalist. Whenever you're interviewed by a journalist, you're actually speaking to the nation. So I think those who present themselves for appointment must appreciate that. But that will also be proven in whether the parliamentarians reject some people or not. And I think that if some of these things happen, people will sit up and come to appreciate the process better. But the more important thing is that...
Are you saying your expectation that some...
For whatever reason, I think it is your duty to signal that to the person who is appointing. So I do have a hope that some people will be returned, and it's happened before in our history.
Yei yewra Kofi Bento onim de efa manyosem eho ena yene no bo enkomo na eno ena kane oswafo ba kwa no wo John Dramani Mahama na memumu yewra inu safuseni so de tujwa se ministers no hwe wo ma ho keka bi no ma ho keka wo de kopie mo vetting committee no enima echese no mo enye prepared na as a minister designate or se ba bia ya bo din se kokodi djuma no usiesie wo ho esie na akọ committee no so a wentimi ankogu ho enima ase.
Even nominated Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture,
Or Minister for Justice.
or Justice,
Can we relax the
or Minister for Justice, or Minister for Roads. My brother, you have to spend the next few days before your vetting to know as much as possible the sector. You have to. I've gone through 3 times. You have to, because the people in the vetting committee need to understand your frame of mind and how you intend to approach policy at the ministry. Because they're going to give you state resources. You cannot come to the vetting committee and think that with impunity, give no opportunity to go. And that, no, it's about resources of states.
Yei kane rasebedwani yewra inu safuseni ene yetene nka ewo hono na yewra Samuel Dakwa wono so nim defa amanyosem ehwo no de atudwa se ohwe the current state of our MPs and as a parliament eyade se beboa papa check and balance no ebeye adwuma na sedie ukopie mo rasebedwafie o mo ache tuna ebema omo ewo dom dodo afa omo di omo dwuma sede wo so omo di no sanso ene dom kuma no so bedi omo dwuma sede omo si di no ne beboa pa ma oman kanko ene nimpumtuo enso awie peye
aban ya de ba ye hwehwe mu ye ha ye ni na ye hwehwe mu ye fifi mu omo ti fifi mu ye a ebeboa no me wo am fifi mu se ye enko a ebe haye antima ema esa yakuma enti emra du se yakuma antima ye no afoso ye no mra no ekam emra du se ye si ye ni na nyemedi e ba parliament no ye hwehwe
eni eti yewra Samuel Dakwa wonim depa efa Ghana yena pomding ensem eho ena yetene nka ewo eho na afei yenwramu ewo COVID-19 ensensem so sede esitie na ukopiem ewo Ghana Health Service on website a de tienie active cases no gina 6,567 na confirmed cases no 79,655 new cases a me no ka say ababeka ho no 490 and a woman free mo no so gina 572 ahenum edioson mi no 572 na yare ka woman no womo entimi enyina womo efri mo womo nso eho ato womo na omade womo efri yare yinum no 72,516 and pem edioson mi no ahenum ene edunsia nipa womo etimi a recover every yare yinum na me no ka say woman doctor for na nurse for gina womo so bom pempese ne be womo beto womo no pemsia ahenum ene ediosia enson 6,567 ne yenjina bre ewo COVID-19 ensiseye no emu na yewramu ewo ensem no sedie esi etiede a Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje ede atu edwa se COVID-19 no se uko ye schools ahodo ma ehadwene ye papa schools be enkura be se ahenum ani echire ena omo etimi enya COVID-19 no ebie na ochirem se ukopiem ewo Ghana yen schools ahodo no ma be se wo hade wo schools ahodo be se wo ha woman so entimi a register COVID-19 positive cases ewo ho na mantam no fa dunsia no emu edu9 de woman etimi a register COVID-19 positive cases na mienu pe na entimi en register positive cases ohonum. Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje.
Since school reopened in the middle of January, we have recorded 556 cases across the region from 139 schools. And so far, there are about 2 regions that has not reported any case in their school. That is Northeast and Savannah. They've not been any reported case of positivity from the schools so far.
Now sounds the two the state Ghana and COVID-19 is it here.
This, I would say, it's not increasing, but it's high at a stagnant position. It is floor declaration. All regions are reporting cases. The cases at the Kotaka International Airport has continued to decline significantly. And then there's evidence that poor face mask in the evening and the night is a problem for us. And currently, 14 regions have reported sporadic cases of COVID-19 in the schools. So in summary, as at 16th of February, which is the current reporting, we have detected 79,165 cases from 858,000 tests with a cumulative positivity rate of 9.2%. We have discharged 71,000 plus. We are currently recording 568 deaths, bringing our case fatality rate from 0.7 to 0.72 and rise from 0.6 that we've been recording. The majority of the cases, about 53% of them are in Greater Accra, specifically the Accra Metro and its environs. Ashanti is scored number accounting for about 12%, with Western third with 6.2%.
Any a Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje, one on oil penny quantity for whether yana pumping and some ano ewo Omicron Ghana and yede ninsam okano and rather wabra Ministry of Information any asoya apomdin some so Asian some trefo na omode city city o memu say eto edwan me no ka say no medical catch us swatia ba 6,500 achi na say active case no etimi ehwan aba enrada na okasa nenam 7,000 ti yebesese protocols awodo no so empanifo ebetimi ediso na yare no yetimi etu ase na opani kwantrefo no so ohwe vaccine ye kra ediaba yame eya aduma bosumi a yewomu kona wie ya empanifo echirim se ebeba no sede ho ensem esitien Dr. Kwame Amponsa wono ena oda vaccine na no ewo Ghana Health Service wono ene edi nkomo ana wachichirim kwan a vaccine no ebefa so aba ene ho jimedi awdo.
Vaccinators for this exercise, so we have planned to train approximately 12,500 vaccinators and nearly 40,000 volunteers with a little over 2,000 team supervisors. And these will be used for both the round 1 and round 2 of the campaign. We know that we will not get the vaccines en bloc for the entire population, and therefore it's going to come in trickles. And so we had to do a kind of segmentation in order to have effectiveness in delivery. So ultimately, the vision is to vaccinate the entire population. But for that, the initial target, based on the safety profile of the vaccines, we are targeting approximately 20 million persons. And these persons are health workers based on the segmentation, persons with underlying health conditions, security personnel, other essential service providers, persons above 60 years, students of second and tertiary institutions, teachers at all levels, specialized groups, was the executive, legislature, judiciary, the MDAs, the media, and of course the rest of the population will receive the COVID-19 vaccines. We're going to use a mixed bag of delivery. We use static, that is where we use fixed clinics. We'll also conduct outreach services depending on the area, because there will be mobile clinics, temporary mobile clinics, where people go vaccinate and move to the next spot based on the hotspots. So further segmentation based on the few vaccines that we are likely to receive in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week or so. We are looking at Greater Accra Metro, the Greater Kumasi Metro, and of course, Western will be the next.
Now, you're the Kwame Amponsa so kind. Actually, one more be in charge of the vaccine.
Throughout the country, of 260 districts, 15 districts will require new cold chain equipment. While 7 regional health directorates, basically the new regions, plus central region, will also do the working code over time. These requirements are obviously based on characteristics of the chosen COVID-19 vaccine, meeting or matching the existing routine storage and transport system in the country. And for us in the country, we store our vaccines at +2 to +8 degrees centigrade of Celsius. The entire health system, however, will have to be revamped with new cold chain equipment if we're going for the negative or those that require ultra-negative coaching, and that is also part of the plan.
Na Jumadi no so ena Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje ono oye peni kwantre for da Ghana ya pom dinsem ano de to dwa se nya no kreda se Ghana ya record Ebola case.
It's not yet in Cote d'Ivoire and it's not in Ghana, but we need to be worried. 10 cases of Ebola have been found, all adults over 40 years, 3 laboratory confirmed. Among the cases, there are 5 deaths, of which 1 is confirmed and 4 are probable deaths from Ebola. The likelihood of the exportation to the neighboring countries is very, very real because of where the location is, and so we all need to be worried.
Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje ena yetene nkano. Enum ena mpenifo moshe Ghana yengomesua eso NGO bako ayatu ondin Africa Education Watch. Wade yatu dwa se Ghana for yenyina yensom tituru awofo ene akyerɛkyerɛfo na protocols awodo a Ghana Health Service ne ministry no ede egu akwemu ne yenhwe ne yeni so se ne beya entretre na yenkwara yi yensampa momo emomo emedifintet akyerɛkyerɛfo womo enhwe na protocols no nkra ni so sanso ena awofo nso nhwe na se PPEs no kra ban enyamfa man nkra na womo enhwe no mo pebi ema nkra no na nkra no intiminto a womo engomesua so na samre ya Dr. Patrick Kumabuaje openi kwankyerɛ for da pomdin ensem ano memu hase dia tudwa se COVID-19 sensem no etretre wo in schools no enye nsemo
Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education and the guidelines by guidelines from CSS and ADP schools. Obi o school be also better with this to the bear COVID-19 baho. And people home so your protocols are mass school in this. The Benin says Obi test positive school be and a case be about on one. There was more isolated students. No, your mom got fee. Say be a day school and as a basic school on better fee. On best school. Say that be on and 1999 ban says so many be on the outside of because it's test results better and into the best dress Ghana Health Service and the National School Inspector Authority and I Ministry of Education on one share primary school and junior high school be on the record COVID case piano. It was somewhere isolation near man Koran Cotenefi could say test I test the classroom with now and it's school now the results were back and send them WhatsApp and yes not the spread of disease no not spread any day spread.
Na away from COVID-19 and afin so some outdoor imuno yamfi ani entre LGBTQI metre lesbian sanso na gay and afin so bisexual and transsexual transgender mesremeka sanso and queer and intersex jumedie rofui trumutu sanso and tafrentafre metre lesbian ene de kekeka hon sensema abepi mo memu ase a agents represent okopie me won kran a yesu office wo ho no eno ena clergy won FMB ya to ondin concern clergy wo mo ede ato edwa se aban ne mo animu ya omuntu anamon na officer gay for officer ya babie no e won kran no yentu ase e wo ho no pani a wo ye president ede ema concern clergy a ye friend Bishop Prince Benny and then some for 18 commo efasa and some no yenti sama or can you be
go beyond their official operations and begin to engage in local activism that is contrary to the laws of the land. They are no more under the immunity and the cover they came with as diplomats. And so that is what we believe they have done right now. So that makes them a group of lawless people who are trying to promote something against the laws of Ghana, and they must be brought to book. They are doing to expand the LGBT base in Ghana, bring in funds to promote the activity and corrupt our youth and destroy our family system. You know, the gender minister designate speaking and the foreign minister doesn't carry enough weight. We are in a much difficult situation when the president must speak, and that office there is illegal, is operating just like any other illegal activity in Ghana. It shouldn't even exist in the first place. It shouldn't. We don't have an environment that is a threat to their existence as human beings.
Any Bishop Prince Benny, one NOA president, Edema, concerned clergy, if lesbian, gay, and so by sexual and so transgender Kia ena intersex one officer wa ma besi no one kran no wo hwe se aban be ma ne homene so na saa office no yakwa akotwam tintontan na so human rights activists for be HM say omo right sanso ena aban mu nipa no bi ye beka ya information minister Kojo Oponkroma ekopiem ewo vetting committee na enim no o say sene yen yamamre ena afen so yemra efran against and as a cassette asa no main no o hwe se Ghana mpanifo yebetu anamon afa ho na saa subamponi yetimi etu ase ewo eho na ye concern from ebetodwa se okopiem ewo northern region tokopa na asoa ewo honoma nipa no bi kura ahwe mo enkwa ewo honom na opani kwansrefo a woda crime ano ewo northern region yewra police officer Bernard Paba oye crime officer ewo northern region eboye nkomo efasa ensem no de tie ewo emu.
Suffered casualties were rather because they were being brutalized and their house being touched. And the other side, the faction that was pursuing them also deserted the town because they feared that police would come and arrest them. So right now, directly monitoring the development. As we also have our patrol teams positioned and patrolling the place. So it is currently calm. And we are guaranteeing their security at that location. In fact, we are pursuing the faction that's carrying out this distraction to ensure that the law takes its course. So for that matter, we appeal to each and everyone, law-abiding citizens, to return to the young community and then carry out their daily life activities. There's security in place for that.
Yei ensem no bia eno so apiemu ewo northern region na ochi awieye ena yede bi asomo no na yenwremu ena wo na ochi mu ensem na ochi mu ensem yebo awremu a ahafo ena ebeto odwa se ukopiem ewo honom a forestry mpanifo ewo honom omo ede sekan pa ena akọ kwaye mu forestry commission de sekan na akọ honom ama sesei nyasem keto akra womo eye mfu ewo ehonom womo kotwitwa kokonum ten a nyasem keto akra na enya no nko na womo etwa mu enoma awodo pi na womo etimi etwitwa mu ewo honom a empanifo enso ede womo ano eto ensem no ebiem na koko farmers won kabom kwe wo ahafo region na se wo Ghana ha sei no so edoma no etosa ensem no emu ebi na yenti ensem a womo ekan se nyade da so womo ebete ase ama wankasa koko a womo atombo ase adua no kwabena ne befa sekan akotwa koko dum ten
asase na eta ho ni ya ma kwai mu obi nkomo edito odi from flatna what my atlo edidi na obi abedie puno akonu yemu no mani atupuno mu na eta dia etogo akati polo de no ya wo hwemme akuaponi fighter to me so for years function shedu anan entia ewiye ko forest commission in Kabe o ye wiani apika ni ma ha ya di nyina no se o mo twa mo ye wie na to su mo ha eti fantastic ko na ye twaburo no eti tie de ni de to man no ni de boa de fodi die ani nyanka enyi Tente ye de tradie na tuaguo a popelante fo na tro ama ni to na ko do ta na bie an san wa de yetam we ta wo bi ni ye ti no won nya ide no ko se ni ye ni bre sam pa na yen tia tia wo pe bia
na o wiene no odi twa to se empanifo omoda forestry commission nkrabata wo ahafo no was say jelly woman nyina ye chi wo gum firi se wo mo abo man no kro no o ma bo man ne ka
anya ya bu ko ni ka o ta na baba wo ti na wo na baso wa ya dia wo ye ye paso ta when to me anye what ma duma ne ni na wo ba do o ma ni paso na sa punishment what we can do punishment be na deserve it's what is the punishment than people that you will not be part. no especially aside won too.
Ye cocoa farmers. Wamon kabom kyo penia wono ena wada wana no. One president eni ene no bon komo efa nsema esi ye ewo ahafo. Cocoa farmers anase kuafo ho no mom cocoa kakra mkoye ewo forester ewo ahafo no. Ena ye twaguye commission twaguye no ena omo so etente koko ewo eho no na otwi mu ensam koso ni nyina efa 2020 general election petition no court tenase kwa asetena be ahodo be sen wo na otwi no mu na no na beto odwa application for stay of proceedings a course every petitioners na asoye na enso judge for ibo ensem no egui na eno ena same jamfi ebetena ase okasaye kasa de okasa bi papa na nkasa na de fa bie ene se wo hwempanifo bi etese information minister designate kojo opon kroma sanso ena same bi obo omudin editu dwa se sene mpanifo yi omo epifri chamber honom eba omo eka ensem free court ba be kansem edifa yewra Dominica yini sanso ena chikata ho a ase wo mo yemba ne wo mo eho se wo mo de enidie ema chikata ena afen so Dominic Ayini na bra wo mo abo ewo law mu no enya asem ketwa.
These people. When my own brother Samuel Wuku was cited for contempt, you saw our lawyers for John Mahama at the time, and the NDC defended him. And I believe the other side also did the same thing for my own brother and colleague Kweku Buane. Why are lawyers like Kodjo Ponkroma Nanabi, who by the way are juniors by far to Dr. Ayini, trying to instigate the court and incite the court against him on the basis of things he has not said? And when they have made worse statements than that are even more contemptuous, because my brother, the court, I believe, has been very liberal in how it has conducted these proceedings. And even where senior lawyers who are on record have heard, the court has been very liberal in giving them, cautioning them here and there and all that. You saw them do that to Francis Davies and other senior, Frank Davies and other senior lawyers. Because if the broad rules of contempt are to be applied strictly, then the first culprit will be Kodjo Ponkroma. Because nobody has prejudiced this matter, which is sub judice, than he. How many times hasn't he stood here to dismiss the case of the petitioner? How many times haven't you heard Nanabi say that petition? I told you, the petition is baseless. The petitioner has not discharged his evidential burden or the burden of proof. Are they justices of the Supreme Court? Are they clothed with power to pronounce definite conclusions on matters that are sub judice? That is also contempt. Yet nobody has called on the court to cite them for contempt. So they should stop this shameful conduct. And finally, let me also raise this point, which is tied to what we are talking about. The disrespect from spokespersons of the second respondent for lawyer for the petitioner, in the course of these proceedings, for us is very unacceptable. You hear them stand here and describe things that counsel for the petitioner has said as English and grammar. Like Chachuchi Katai was just speaking English and not law.
Na eno sade tuja ehye ne supporters no se omo emoma bemumu ewom se application be fa bia no na chese abo agu enko nkosiaga ode atudwa se omo bemumu kra.
Their non-compliance with Section 26, respectfully, has occasioned a miscarriage of justice to the petitioner. That is without saying. It is a given that their non-compliance has occasioned a miscarriage of justice to us. So, what we want to tell Ghanaians who are watching this briefing, particularly the over 6 million Ghanaians who voted for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is that some of these decisions are not going in our favor. And there is a tendency for some of you to be crestfallen and sad. But we are standing here as leaders who have the authority of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to tell you that don't give up and not give in. Chin up, square up your shoulders, because no matter how this court decision will go, no matter how it will go, Ghanaians, all of us are discerning. The world is watching, and we will all know the truth for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Na sans usem kriya na nano ya wada court ewie won ensem no second respondant one so omo press briefing womo de todwa ye maame Hajia Fatima de todwa a wo chirimu se ohwe petitioners womo case na emu aha etese sebi asawa.
As soon as the ono near SIA on Paya Manuko, now a bribia from registration to exhibition to voting. One and a manson. I said, what did the Boshe and Osaba Betana said, now can the Boshe Nadia Yedma? Respondents are more filing preliminary objection. Some come up court to know Hano who and say bread. Emma make it in service as some what they buy, a meaning I saw a more Hassat in Tingu, a Hassas hour, and think I'm not court and say I don't know. What's the Lanka war chairman Abedina Dakum? Ajina no asem, Ajina me. Not just a what's in some petitioners and a petitioner and a lawyer for no, every bedina how more can. As a court now no more, but no man who wants so. A Yagana for the share must move from one ten some records, move from one ten some records. Nasawa Sama become a court, and to not make you more. Now so Sanya Bribia, mini opinion for your upon Chroma Kaino. Yet the rule of law, yet the Ghana ready, yet the Bay and to send the aircon, yet the court nonsa. I am to say, yeah, court no the Baba to a bontain, say a petitioner, first and second respondents, Muni so my miss so cry, yet the baby so. Can your more yet to say no?
No, Chief Justice, Justice and Nim Yabuan, so the two justices, and Yamia Duma Juada, pending cases in a petition. So.
To European cases is the Canadian case. Proceedings was filed to stay proceedings before the hearing of the motion for review application. We think that as the motion for review has been determined by the full bench, the application for stay of proceedings is moot and same is struck out. The petition is adjourned to Monday, the 22nd of February 2021 at 9:30 a.m. for the pending applications to be taken. Lord Supreme was grateful.
Yei ensembia etwaguye na otwimu ewo court Supreme Court ensensem no ehom na eno na enada NPP for letter 10 besa ha sei ene esrim ne nyina ene sen Samidemfi ekoka se yewura information minister designate Kojo Opon Kroma sanso na B NPP for and a second respondent on lawyers bi omo fani die emachikata na no mo bisa Samidemfi se wono obuade lawyer akraketwa Ghana man penny His Excellency Nana Danko Ekufuado ye odi law echi ejao na so bio anana wakasa ede afa Nana Danko Ekufuado a eho a kasa fi a woka no enya asem keto akra eno ti sa ensem ne nyina wose NPP for say ye mosa ensem no engu Kojo Opon Kroma nso kopie mu ewo vetting committee no anymore to just say attack on journalists enya de say yesoso
committed some infractions. I believe that for many of them, it is not out of malice. It's probably because they have not benefited from the kind of training and standard setting that you would expect. So where journalists are involved in what you would call irresponsible journalism, even that is not an excuse to attack journalists or to harass journalists. It's not an excuse. There are legally provided avenues which give room for when you feel that you have been offended by the work of a journalist to employ. But violence, harassment of journalists is unacceptable and should not take place. So I consistently make this point, and that is why we even went further to put in place this coordinated mechanism for the safety of journalists, and at the same time, the media capacity enhancement program, so that we can help those who may incur some infractions but through no fault of theirs, but at the same time provide a framework that can help us protect.
Na yes, sorry, so no, and so Confanochi Teaching Hospital and some and so is Nina and it's a maternity blogger. Last year, another Danko Kufuado Beshe Bosse or Beshe, and Medaya is who obey 40-50 years, yet me SCC, a beto Jason Penny for a woman 80 Jumano at the beto a Monteneso H. Muse, Sanye a dino ACT and I was here drilling in a go free say I am Ray. Na openi a ye friend of Richard Van der Poy, our ye engineer or sanso a lead project officer at the Emma and Penny for motion almost say Dano at the betu Jadia, a dano was here drilling in a ego.
At the end of the day, we realized it was going to cost us more money.
the structure would be reinforced, yes, but the kind of reinforcement that would go on would affect the building in terms of its spatial offering. That is to say that a lot of the spaces will be reduced because you're going to have oversized columns and additional beams and so on and so forth. The other thing was that, can we at the end of the day guarantee the life of the building after all this reinforcement has been done? The answer was no. From the contractor's perspective, they have the reputation also to guard, and they wouldn't want to do something that would eventually fail or have structural problems. Now, I'd like to say here also that while the survey and study was going on, we did realize that in actual fact, some reinforcement had been attempted, that the cement and the concrete work itself is weak. It's piling off already. And some parts of the reinforcement itself is beginning to rust. Now, we now realize that this is probably due to the long exposure of the building, because the building was never protected. And I think the last contractor who worked there must have left the site about maybe 10 years or so ago. And this building is over 40 years. So you can imagine that you have an exposed building that, you know, these things have happened over time. So we couldn't really rely on an investigation. And the more current information that we have is that we are risking, you know, going into the building.
Yeah, Richard Van der Poy, engineer Sanso and Oye lead project officer Ede Emma Ekuya Yede Ama Womo se Womo Enshe na Konfanoche maternity bloggers who are 45 years, 50 years, you know, Womo CSA and Yetenen can the Enina Sonia Fene and then our Chimo Trending News and Sakana 24 radio sunina in si Papa Smiley and Echinchimo Fidiano Namote Mene, and we don't Konyami Admochna, Yakem Bianso, Yereba Somo, Yakramo.